Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, and I'm asking the question, what do higher entities think of us mere mortals on this plane of existence? So this is a complex question that, frankly, in the old days I wouldn't have even considered, because the concept that there are kind of like gods and goddesses as we interpret them really just being higher dimensional entities, and that they can have a possibly skewed perspective of what our existences are like down here. Well, this never occurred to me in the old days. It wasn't until I suppose, went deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole that I eventually came to the realization that these are the types of questions that we probably should be asking. So I'll talk about that a little bit tonight. Before we begin, you are watching Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. Two quick things I want to mention. As I pointed out in the prior video, we do have the Afterlife Topics Patreon page now going. You can see that link in the channel description when you click Show More. If you want to support the work, now that's the place to be able to do it. And I also always ask people to please hit that subscribe button if you like what we're representing here, because I've received a little bit of pushback from YouTube. It's a bit of an uphill battle to get this type of subject spoken about, so always need your help with that. So to continue, up on the page I have some artistic concept art of which Hindu god is that? I don't know. I'd have to go back and look it up. This is someone's personal, I think maybe deviant art page. Wincario.com, blogs. I'm not sure. I wish I could give the artist credit, but I just pulled this up because it looked cool, and I was thinking along the terms of gods, goddesses, higher dimensional entities. So, as I was saying, when I was more, I guess, in the kind of, I always use that terminology, new agey, but I mean, I guess the best way to describe it, when I was kind of almost more naive to the concepts of other dimensions, before I was having astral projection experiences, before I had developed relationships in a sense, to people, and that I've met on that side, memories of what the other side is like, and the ability, I guess, to kind of put all the pieces together. I really kind of thought that, okay, well, I guess like in near-death experiences, it's just like it's all just love and light. It's this really mono existence. You won't find different types of characters and entities of different varying personalities, because when you read a lot of like New Age work, the New Age Isle, I'm talking about authors who are really good, really great authors like Anita Morjani. But when you're just in that aisle, just reading those, just studying that material, it starts to seem like the universe is this really kind of black and white, or maybe beige, monotone existence where every single higher dimensional entity is just the light. It's all pure love and harmony, and it's all perfect, and it's all angels and flowers, and there's never any problems, and everything is just completely monocultural. In fact, there isn't even a culture to speak of. It is just the light, and that's it. There's nothing else out there. And then you go head first into topics like the dark side of the astral, books like Deadly Departed. What's a good one? Learning about that there is an incredible variety of souls, just like you see here on this planet, and they have there's an infinite amount of personalities, motivations, intentions, desires, thoughts, and ideas for every single soul. And it has to be that way, because if it wasn't that way, then we really would be in this kind of beige, monotone existence where everything is the same. And honestly, at this point, I think that the interpretation that the universe is this monotone existence is a very kind of juvenile way of looking at the universe. It's based upon fear, like a fear of the unknown, a fear of anything that makes you uncomfortable. And so I hate to say it, but when a normie has a spiritual experience, I think that that's what they experience because they're in this little safe little cocoon. Because I think a lot of normies, people who before their experience had no clue about any of this, that's just the level they're on. So to come back to this topic, what does that mean for our existence and higher dimensional entities who may have varying interests and ideas about us? So the first thing I want to point out is that I very much believe that when it comes to we can't make generalizing assumptions, but I very much believe nonetheless that higher dimensional entities may often look at our existences here, and maybe they call it the 3D, the third density, as well. They won't take it as seriously as we take our existences, and it's very much like we're all in the Matrix, we're all playing a game. They're just outside of it, and they have their own lives, they have their own problems, but they get to kind of look and point at us and go, ha ha ha. Not that they are dismissive of us, but they see it all as a game, and to them it's not, what we would see as a tragedy. Sometimes higher dimensional entities, they might not see it that way. They might even have a little bit of what we would think of as a bit of a callous notion to it. So while we're heartbroken and devastated, they're just thinking, yeah, you'll get over it, you'll be back on our side soon enough, and then you'll see the big picture, you'll see what it's really all about, and then you won't be so concerned with the stuff that happened down in that, in that big theater that you were participating in. So this kind of attitude, well, what's really interesting is that, the more I go into these subjects, the more I see that, in fact, higher dimensional entities, I think, can be just as flawed as we are. And so that includes egotistical ways of looking at things. So that whole perspective could very well be an egotistical, kind of non-empathic way of looking at our suffering and looking at the things that we have to go through, and then being able to just dismiss it because you're looking at it from a higher vantage point. Right? So it's almost like in this world, sometimes we see this phenomenon of people who are very wealthy, and they kind of chuckle at people who are like working class. So let's say somebody is an entrepreneur, and they figured out how to make half a mil or a mil a year, and they do what they love, and they feel free, and they're so happy, and they're positive, and it feels great to be around them. But then they kind of chuckle at the barista at Starbucks complaining about their life because they have this kind of illusion based upon their own reference experiences that, look what I accomplished. Now anybody can accomplish this. You just have to follow this path and you'll get there soon enough. You just have to find your passion, find what you're all about, discover your true purpose, and Tony Robbins kind of stuff. And meanwhile the person working, who's like depressed and has a million problems and is making just above minimum wage and can't make their car bills, they're kind of like, eh? And but it's because, from their own reference point, they're not looking at people from that higher plane. But in reality, it's very much disconnected from, somebody else's reality. And I think more wise, more advanced entities, they understand this. And so that's why they have that ability to come to us from a position of growth and wisdom and compassion and empathy and understanding. And these are truly like benevolent entities, especially some of the guides that have come through, the silver birches and the Seths and all of those types of entities who genuinely are concerned for us and understand the incredible difficulties that we mortals have to go through. And these are I guess you could call them the benevolent gods. But what happens, though, when higher dimensional entities are a bit egotistical and they don't see things that way? Then we're in a more difficult position, because then they might be, kind of looking down at us, or they might not be able to relate to us that way, or they might be looking at us as just being pawns in a game. And of course, this then again it poses a problem for us, because can there be chaotic entities? Can there be entities that, because they just see it all as a game, they're not taking seriously much of anything, and they find it perfectly acceptable to mess with us or manipulate us, or get into our minds, or who knows what else. And this can be said for, those who are deceased, or non-human entities, or extraterrestrials, or who knows. And this, as I guess my final main point, I think that ultimately this could be why it's so difficult to understand the motivations sometimes behind sort of higher dimensional entities. And maybe 2 videos back, I spoke about the Corey Goode doomsday prophecy. So, I kind of believe Corey Goode really does receive info from ETs. But why are ETs telling him that the world is going to end in 13 years? How come it's kind of, from the outside, it looks like he's being a bit manipulated. All this information he's been reporting for the last few years has slowly evolved into like doomsday prepping, like basically entities telling him we're all going to die. And I proposed a question on the Facebook group, like, why would this happen? Why would entities be manipulating somebody? And then somebody put up an answer which was basically like, maybe they want to test and experiment and see what kind of human reactions we might have. They want to just mess, well, I don't want to say mess with us, but they want to experiment on our thoughts and feelings, and they don't, they're not concerned if it causes damage. They want to just basically experiment on us. And this could explain why so many areas of the paranormal are so weird, and why you get such weird messages and weird mixed reports from different entities. The trickster and the paranormal, as they say. It's a book about this. Because it's like when you're dealing with higher dimensional entities, they might not, you're looking at it like, wow, what kind of guidance can I get from this entity that's, to you, it's non-physical, an entity, this person coming from this higher dimension. And they're looking down at you and they're like, how can I have some fun with this? How can I manipulate these silly little primitive creatures? How can I have a laugh? How can I, maybe experiment? Kind of like, we pluck ants out of the anthill and we put it in the little, one of those ant, what are the, when you're a kid, you have like the little glass, ant colony thing that you can buy, right? You pluck them out of their happy lives in the colony, so now for your own amusement and entertainment, you can observe the ants going about their lives now in this little thin glass container. And very much seems like this can happen to us. So to be able to work in this area, I think we have to understand the psychology of these higher entities. Sometimes we have to recognize that can be happening to us, and sometimes, if necessary, I think we have to push back against them, and we have to be able to resist, and if necessary, tell them like it is. That this whole idea that someone's more powerful or greater than somebody else, this is really not. That itself is proof that they're no better sometimes than we are, and maybe we're the ones to knock the gods off their pedestals. If you like this video, again, please hit that subscribe button. Head to afterlifetopics.com. You can grab books like Understanding Life After Death, The Afterlife, and Beyond. Or you can join the Facebook page, or you can join the classes. You can get in touch with me personally about that if you want. And that's about it for this video. By the way, it's been nice being able to do unrestricted videos because I have my own apartment here in Hanoi. So the last few weeks of videos have been in hostels, having to speak quietly or being in coffee shops and awkward places. I'm happy to say for the next few weeks, between here and up until around the time that I get to Dharamshala, India, where I'll be doing some volunteer work at the Dalai Lama's temple, which is really exciting, I will be staying in proper hotels and apartments, and so that's really cool. But then once I'm in Dharamshala, I'll be back in a hostel for a couple weeks, and then it's back to the challenging part of doing all this work. So anyway, just want to mention that. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next video.